This is a Calling Radio editorial documentary on reform of the money bail system in Omaha for use between January the 18th and 22nd on KLNG, Calling Radio in Omaha. Written, produced, and edited by Mike Amdor. On this tape are 5 items, beginning with the first part of the series. First part is for use on Monday, January 18th, 1971. This piece is 2 minutes, 31 seconds in length. The out cue is the phrase, Calling Radio editorial documentary on the money bail system. Part 1, the tape in 5. Historians will no doubt view the 1960s and 1970s as a period when every facet of American life came under intense scrutiny. Just as challenges are raised to an alleged double standard of law enforcement, so too is America's court system undergoing self-examination. Here in Omaha, as around the nation, our courts are being studied, probed, evaluated, and changed. The charges and criticisms made are not so much against the American judicial system itself, but rather toward auxiliary procedures that at least appear to be inefficient, unfair, and illegal, or even all three. Well, this week in a Calling Radio editorial documentary, we'll be taking a look and a position on the money bail system, one often criticized aspect of the judiciary. Why the money bail system? One attorney put it this way: in terms of the injustice that's perpetrated, the money bail system is the most glaring local problem we have. Before we go to the problem, however, we have to know what the money bail system itself is. We approached a lawyer, the chairman of the Political Science Department at Creighton University, Dr. Richard Shagrew.
The money bail system operates as a substitute for a surety on property. That is, that if a person is pledged through actual dollar amount or an insurance premium, so to speak, which is the price he might pay to the bondsman, that he will be there because X number of dollars is riding on that particular risk. Failure then to show up means that he forfeits the money amount, or in the case where he has dealt with a bondsman, the bondsman will seek him out and bring him back to justice, exposing him then not only to the penalties of the court for perhaps violating the law, but also being in contempt of court for failure to show up.
Thus, says Dr. Shagrew, the money bail system acts as a guarantee that the defendant will show up for trial. Under the money bail system, however, the bond money is the only assurance that a man will return, completely ignoring any other manifestation of honesty and trustworthiness. Obviously, an honest poor man could not make bail, while a dishonest rich man could. A double standard exists in that a first offender with no money sits in jail. A 4-time loser with a big bankroll and a smart lawyer is back on the street. But another way is being tried, the pretrial release program, and we'll take a look at that tomorrow in the second part of a Calling Radio editorial documentary on the money bail system. The second item on this tape is the second installment in the series. This is for use on January 19th, 1971, and the piece is 2 minutes, 29 seconds in length. I might point out here that from here on out through the series, we have redone every installment to phrase it documentary editorial instead of editorial documentary. So on this second item, the out cue is Calling Radio documentary editorial on the money bail system in Omaha. The tape in 5. Yesterday, in a Calling Radio documentary editorial series on reform of the money bail system, we noted that under a bonding system based on the posting of cash, a man's honesty and reliability are equivocated with money. If you have the money, you get out of jail. If you don't, you stay in. It's that simple. In the face of this, however, is a new approach based on an old principle. The old principle is the signature bond, releasing a man on his own recognizance, and the new approach is the pretrial release program. Organized under the auspices of the Omaha Bar Association and guided by an association committee, a group of Creighton University law students try to meet with defendants shortly after their arrest. The students, using a point system, try to rate a man's reliability. If they ascertain that a man might possibly be released on his own recognizance, they call a judge, who can then order the prisoner released. The pretrial release program has its merits, and the student director, Tom Polking, comments.
Why should a man have to post money to assure that he's going to show up. I mean, money as itself doesn't mean anything. Rather, what we use, our criteria, are employment. How long has he lived here in Omaha? His job, as I mentioned first, is very important. How long he has lived here, and how long he has maintained a stable home. In other words, is he moving around the city of Omaha? Things like this become very relevant if a man is reliable himself, and money does not show if a man's reliable.
The program thus avoids the use of a bondsman, so no one can exploit a man's troubles with the law to profit himself. It avoids the use of cash, so a poor man does not have to stay in jail or deprive his family to post a bond. The program looks at a man's past record, so that a repeating criminal hopefully is spotted, and if he presents a problem, probably denied freedom. In short, the pretrial release program appears to be able to judge a man as an individual, recognize his honesty, and even point out his faults, all with a view of determining reliability. So it would appear that we already have a happy ending to the reform of the money bail system. However, this is not the case. For the pretrial release program has seen some rocky roads, and while its future appears bright, the program has its troubles too. We'll examine those troubles tomorrow in the third part of a Calling Radio documentary editorial on the money bail system in Omaha. The third item on this tape is the third part of the series for use on Wednesday, January 20th, 1971. This piece is 2 minutes, 45 seconds in length, and the out phrase is the out cue is the phrase, Calling Radio documentary editorial on reform of the money bail system. Part 3, the tape in 5. In this series, we've looked at the system of bailing people out of jail by having them post a bond of money. We've noted that this money bail system is often inequitable, and that the pretrial release program might offer a fairer, more reliable approach. But Omaha's pretrial release program, started last February, has had its troubles too. The reasons given are many, but the main one was outlined by Bar Association President Jack Merer.
Our problem was inducing several of the judges, two of whom have now retired from the municipal court, to use the project. This is where we ran into a great problem of educating the judges that when a man qualified for release under this project, that he was entitled to their consideration. They had great fears about whether or not these people would ultimately show up in court on the day they were to appear.
Thus, conflict between some municipal court judges on one side and the program on the other. District Court Judge Rudolph Teaser is not one of those judges. He's a step above the Muni bench. But the District Court participates in the pretrial release program, and Judge Teaser comments.
If you analyze their point system, the fact that they live in this community, say for 2 years, they get X number of points. You know, an individual who lives in Omaha for 2 years can commit a crime just as easily as one who's been here 2 days. But I mean, they give too many points for living in the locale. You see what I mean? There's certain things that their point system's got to be corrected.
District Court Judge Rudolph Teaser emphasizes that denial of bail can be a deterrent to crime, and he expressed the fear that repeating criminals will be returned to the streets. Well, the reply of the people in the program is best summed up by Student Director Tom Polking.
I was given the advice last summer when I first took over the project that you're going to have to go slow, that to change people's ideas, it takes time. In other words, you're going to have to get to know the judges as well as the prosecutor does before he's going to rely on what you say, and you're going to have to prove yourself. Since June 1st, we have released, like I've said before, between maybe 120, 130 people. And these people all have showed up.
These people all showed up in court under the pretrial release program. So, even in view of all its troubles, the program has a pretty good record under its belt. The question now becomes, where is pretrial release going? And can it provide the answers to reform of the money bail system? We'll view the question further tomorrow in the fourth part of a Calling Radio documentary editorial on reform of the money bail system. The fourth item on this tape is the documentary editorial installment for Thursday, January 21st, 1971. This piece is approximately 2 minutes 30 seconds in length. The out cue is Calling Radio documentary editorial on reform of the money bail system in Omaha. The fourth installment, the tape in 5. This week on Calling Radio, we've investigated one big problem facing our local courts: reform of the money bail system. One proposed reform is through the pretrial release program, and today we take another look at that program's feasibility. Pretrial release has had problems in Omaha, but noteworthy in any discussion of the program is the fact that it has, in misdemeanor cases at least, worked. And it has worked in spite of controversy between the students, the Bar Association, and the courts. The three parties have literally gone round and round, but the program has moved ahead. And one of the biggest problem areas, the makeup of the municipal court in Omaha, changed just this week. But pretrial release isn't yet a reform of the money bail system. There still exists a real question of feasibility. And to discuss this, I approached Municipal Court Judge Paul Hickman. He's an advocate of the program and won the Nebraska Bar Association's President's Award for his backing of it. He offered this opinion when we questioned him about speeding up the Omaha program.
I don't think that the law students that are on the project or members of the project recognize that they are not the elected officials who must stand a vote of the people for retention. And until the people themselves in the city of Omaha, the so-called silent majority, the middle class person recognizes that the project is good, not only for the defendant himself, but also for them, because by keeping this defendant working, he doesn't, nor does his family become a dredge on society upon them through their taxes.
Municipal Court Judge Paul Hickman. So then, the pretrial release program can be used to remedy the ills of the money bail system. And the program has a potentially bright future. And this could be a significant reform in local court procedure. So, a stand, a position on reform of the money bail system. And for that, listen tomorrow as we conclude a Calling Radio documentary editorial on reform of the money bail system in Omaha. The fifth and final item on this tape is the editorial to go with the documentary that we've presented in our documentary editorial series. This item runs 1 minute and 35 seconds, the tape in 5. During this documentary editorial on the pretrial release program, we have focused on the age-old money bail system and the search for a more equitable and reliable method which has led to the pretrial release program. The signs seem encouraging, regardless of the numerous conflicts that we've noted. State Senator Richard Proud will soon propose the pretrial release in Nebraska's unicameral. He's expected to introduce a bill that would formally establish it as a law. Calling Radio has taken an editorial stand on this matter. With that comment, here is Frank Scott.
The track record of Omaha's pretrial release program is indisputable. It can work. And we believe it will prove to be a benefit to our judicial system. One of the problems created by the program as tested in this city seems to be a lack of support, or perhaps more specifically, a lack of public information. We hope that this documentary editorial has helped. We stop short of endorsing the forthcoming legislation only because it has yet to be formalized. But when this is done, and we expect such a move next week, then we urge our listeners to contemplate the pros and cons which create the need for this bill and take a stand. Working within the system can bring about change, and we believe a change is needed.
Comment from Calling Radio's Frank Scott on the pretrial release program. Calling Radio invites qualified statements of opposing or different points of view at all times. And with that, we complete the fifth and final installment in our Calling Radio series on reform of the money bail system that ran on Calling Radio between January the 18th and January the 22nd of 1971. A Calling Radio documentary editorial on the reform of the money bail system in Omaha.